Here's the paradox. American kids spend an average of 7 hours a day on screens. Nordic kids, about 2. But here's what nobody tells you. When you test digital literacy, the actual ability to navigate the online world safely, critically, and productively, Nordic teenagers consistently outperform their American peers. Wait, less screen time but better at screens? Yes, and the reason rewrites everything you thought you knew about kids and technology. Most American parents think about screen time in one dimension: minutes. How many minutes is my child on the iPad? How many hours of YouTube today? It's an on-off switch. Either the screens are on and you feel guilty, or they're off and you feel like a good parent. Nordic parents don't think like this. They don't ban screens, and they don't hand them over freely. They operate on a completely different philosophy. It's called digital nutrition. Think about it this way. You don't measure your child's food intake solely by counting calories. You look at the quality. 100 calories from an apple is different from 100 calories from a candy bar. One nourishes, the other just fills. Digital nutrition works the same way. Not all screen time is equal. 2 hours of making a stop-motion animation is not the same as 2 hours of passive YouTube scrolling. Nordic parents distinguish between digital vegetables, digital protein, and digital junk food. And that distinction changes everything. Here are 5 things Nordic parents do about screen time that most American parents completely miss. Number 1. They delay, they don't deny. Sweden's Public Health Institute made headlines in 2024 when it issued its first ever national screen time guidelines. The recommendation was blunt. No screens before age 2. Period. 0. Not even educational apps. Not even baby Mozart. For children aged 2 to 5, no more than 1 hour per day, and that hour should be co-viewed with a parent. Ages 6 to 12 get 1 to 2 hours. Teenagers, 2 to 3 hours. But here's what the American coverage of this story missed. Nordic parents were already doing this. The guidelines didn't start a revolution. They just formalized what most families already practiced. The secret isn't the rule. It's that Nordic parents delayed the introduction of screens long enough for their children to build something else first. An attention span, an imagination, a relationship with boredom, a connection to the physical world. So when screens eventually arrive, they arrive as a tool, not a pacifier. Number 2, they classify, they don't count. A Norwegian parent doesn't say you have 1 hour of screen time. They say you have 1 hour of creative screen time, or educational screen time, or social screen time. The classification matters more than the clock. Norway's National Media Literacy Framework teaches children to distinguish between 4 types of digital engagement: creating, learning, connecting, consuming. Only one of those 4, consuming, is treated as junk food. The other 3, welcome. A child who spends an hour programming a simple game in Scratch has technically been on a screen. But a Nordic parent doesn't count that the same way they'd count an hour of TikTok. The research backs this up. A 2019 study of over 4,000 children found that interactive screen time, video games, creative apps, coding had positive associations with educational outcomes. Passive consumption had the opposite effect. Nordic parents understood this intuitively long before the data proved them right. Number 3, they never let screens eat meals. This one sounds small. It is not. In Nordic households, meals are a screen-free zone. Always. The phone doesn't sit face up on the table. The television doesn't play in the background. Dinner is dinner. A 2022 study found that the majority of American children are exposed to screens during meals, and screen exposure during meals is a direct risk factor for obesity, poor dietary habits, and reduced family communication. But the deeper loss isn't nutritional, it's conversational. Meals are where children learn to read facial expressions, to take turns in dialogue, to listen without scrolling. These are the building blocks of emotional intelligence. When screens are present at the table, the back-and-forth exchanges that wire a child's social brain simply don't happen. Nordic parents protect meals like a ritual, not because they're old-fashioned, because the table is the original social network. Number 4, they model what they demand. Here is the uncomfortable truth for every parent watching this. Your child is not the problem. You are. A 2024 study from the University of Copenhagen found that the single strongest predictor of a child's screen time was not the child's age, not the child's personality, not the availability of devices. It was the parent's screen time. When parents scroll during family time, children learn that screens are the default state. When parents answer notifications during a conversation, children learn that the device matters more than the person in front of them. Nordic parents tend to be far more deliberate about their own screen behavior. They put the phone away when they walk through the door. They don't scroll in bed next to their children. They don't take the phone to the playground. Not because they're morally superior, because they understand the research. Mirror neurons fire when a child watches a parent. You cannot teach digital boundaries while ignoring them yourself. Number 5. They replaced, they didn't just remove. This is the Nordic secret that changes everything. When you take away a screen, you must give something back. You cannot simply say, "No more iPad," and leave a void. A child's brain will fill that void with whatever is available. If the only available thing is boredom and frustration, the screen wins every time. Nordic parents don't remove screens. They displace them. Every hour of screen time removed is replaced by something that satisfies the same underlying need. The need for stimulation is met by outdoor play. The need for connection is met by family rituals. The need for novelty is met by real-world exploration. This is why Nordic children don't feel deprived when the screens go off. The alternative is not empty. It is full. Full of forests, full of free play, full of fika, the Swedish ritual of slowing down with a warm drink and a conversation, full of friluftsliv, the Norwegian concept of open-air living. These are not just activities. They are competing reward systems. They offer the same dopamine, the same stimulation, the same satisfaction that screens promise. But they do it without the cortisol crash, without the attention fragmentation, without the algorithmic manipulation. Sweden learned this lesson the hard way. In 2019, the government mandated digital tools in the national preschool curriculum. The fear was that Swedish children would fall behind in the digital economy. The result was the opposite. By 2022, Swedish 15-year-olds recorded their lowest PISA scores in math and reading in a decade. Nearly 4 in 10 students reported being distracted by digital devices during math class. Nearly 9 in 10 teachers said smartphones were harming learning and attention spans. Sweden called it an experiment. And in 2024, they declared the experiment over. The mandate was reversed. Physical textbooks returned to classrooms. Phones were banned bell to bell in schools. The screens didn't make Swedish children smarter. The removal of screens did. So here is the framework. Nordic parents don't treat screen time as a battle of minutes. They treat it as a question of quality, context, and replacement. Is the screen time creative, educational, connective, or purely consumptive? Is it happening during a protected ritual like a meal or bedtime? Is the parent modeling the behavior they expect? And when the screen goes off, is there something genuinely good waiting on the other side? If you only remember one thing, remember this: digital nutrition, not screen time. You would never measure your child's physical health by counting the seconds they spend eating. Measure their digital health the same way. Not by the clock, by the content, by the context, by what you're giving them instead. The Nordic secret isn't that they ban technology. It's that they've built a life so rich that screens become a supplement, not a substitute. If this shifted something for you, subscribe. We decode Nordic parenting science every week and share this with one parent who needs to hear it.